Good morning. This is Carlin Laraway, the Director of Assessment and Accountability for the Department of Education. We have just now 9:58, and we see a few more folks signing in, so we'll get started in just a couple minutes. So hang tight with us for just a minute. We'll be right back with you. Okay, it is 10 o'clock at the top of the hour. Good morning, everyone. My name is Carlin Laraway. I'm the Director of Assessment and Accountability for the Department of Education, and I want to welcome you to our January Assessment and Accountability Update webinar. Thanks for joining us. Before we get started, I want to make sure that we can all hear. So we'll do a quick sound check for me. If you can hear me, please raise your hand. Just make sure we got everyone on the other end. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Just a couple of housekeeping things. Just a reminder, if you have questions, please type them in the questions box. If you do have any technical difficulty, please send a chat. Those are managed separately. And our presentation today is loaded as a handout, so you can access that and follow along as we go. We'll transition now to our first topic, and that is the science update. Just to keep you informed of what's coming this year for 2019, grade 5 will be the old assessment aligned to old standards with some new embedded field test items. Students will see just a handful, a small amount of items that are aligned to our new standards and format. These items will not be scored. Grade 7, you can anticipate the old assessment aligned to old content standards. Again, grade 7. Grade 8, we do have the option of a standalone field test of new items aligned to the new standards. This assessment will not be scored, but will be used to collect information about our assessment development practice and work. We have several schools and districts who have volunteered, and I will be contacting you after this webinar to gather some information, so please look for that email. If you don't see something from me by the end of the day and you expect to participate in the standalone field test, please send me an email so I don't forget you. I have a working list and I'll be contacting you this afternoon. And just to recap or reminder, our high school end of course assessments in biology and chemistry this year can be administered to students in grades 9, 10, 11, or 12. Remember, we capture students testing at least once in high school. So if you have seniors who have never taken an end of course assessment, this is the year they should do that for your participation rate calculation. We'd like to remind you to register for our assessment roadshow coming up at the end of this month in Nampa on the 31st. We'll be up north at the Coeur d'Alene Resort on Tuesday, February 5th, and heading over to Eastern Idaho on Friday, February 8th. The registration link is on our assessment and accountability page on our website. We hope to see you all out on the road. And finally, if you missed it, we hope you will visit our new Idaho Schools report card site. You have the link there at idahoschools.org, and this is a view of the Finder page or the landing page. You can navigate to your school's website or school's profile page rather for your report card, find out all of the information we've made available. This is such an improved site over our previous report card. We are really excited about what we've been able to publish. We will be making some data updates. So as you look through information, if you see something that looks amiss, please let us know. And we'll be making some updates to contact information, including administrator names, telephone numbers, district addresses, things of that nature. We also have some enhancements coming at the end of January, but we really encourage you, if you haven't already seen it, to take a look at your report card site. You have one for your school and your district and the state. Now I'm going to turn things over to Kevin Whitman for our accountability team to talk about student and staff and teacher surveys. Kevin.
Thank you. Good morning. As you know, one of the components of our accountability system is a student engagement survey. And last year, students in grades 3 through 8 participated. This year, all students in grades 3 through 12 must participate. The survey window is going to be February 1st to March 15th. And we're going to be using the same advanced ed surveys that we used last year. These surveys have 20 questions and should take about 15 to 20 minutes for each student to complete. We're going to email principals and administrators with custom survey links, and students are going to log on using their state student ID. In the eProof platform that Advanced Ed has, personnel can see the number of students who participated and real-time aggregated results. However, this is important. The system won't allow you to see which particular students participated, so you do need to keep track of that on your end. We are piloting a system in 2 districts this year that will address that obstacle, and if successful, we're hopeful that next year's administration will allow you to easily see which students have or have not taken the survey. So thank you for working with it this year while still tracking that state student ID on your side to see who participated. This year, we're also going to introduce parent and staff surveys that are a part of the state accountability system. We had some great participation from stakeholders in developing the survey questions with an eye towards keeping the survey brief while providing some actionable information. And thank you to anyone on the call right now who participated in that process. And we anticipate that the window for those surveys is going to be around April 15th through May 17th. But we'll be sharing more information about the logistics for the surveys for parents and staff as we get closer to that window. So please be on the lookout for that information in our emails and future webinars. Now I'll turn it over to Melanie.
Great, thanks Kevin, and hi everyone, Happy New Year. I'm going to jump into the college entrance exam related updates, and we'll start first with PSAT, which should be one of our last updates until the next PSAT cycle begins. So Friday, January 11th, this Friday is the deadline to change any grades of testers in the PSAT system. And this will directly relate to your school invoices. Once that deadline is passed, you should be receiving your school invoices by mid-January. And if you have questions specific to the use of fee waivers for juniors who tested, you can email the College Board Field Rep, Steve McHugh, and he can guide you through the process and how to handle that online. His email here is on the slide. Now, SAT bulk registration, we are alive and the window is open for bulk registration, and that extends until January 16th. College Board recommends starting that as soon as possible, so it's done and processed. It will follow the student essay optional process and registration for that essay, so the sooner you can get those files in, the better. The code that our bulk registration contacts are being asked for was received and emailed, it should have been received and emailed on December 20th. So the College Board sent a bulk registration code. And if you have any issues, or if your district or school contacts are needing their code, please let me know, or the Idaho support email, which is the College Board staff that helps with our contract. Again, their email here is on the slide. Just a few logistics here to keep in mind related to the bulk registration process. Seniors who need to take the test for graduation requirement purposes, not as a retake purpose, but as a graduation requirement purpose, they can be uploaded with the juniors and take it on the first SAT school day, April 9th. And we just ask that you keep their grade as grade 12 this time. We know in years past that we had to finagle their grade to be able to put them in the bulk upload, but that is not the case this year. You can keep them as 12th graders. Any 10th graders who are anticipating early graduation can elect to take the SAT this year with juniors, but they do have to have a different grade. They'll have to be put in as juniors, and that is a little trickier. So just a reminder that the state pays for one SAT day, so this could be a choice on the student if they're graduating early, whether to take it this year or then their last year. And then on to the optional essay topic, which I referenced earlier. As a reminder, we do have that as an add-on this year for students. And schools may need some guidance and assistance from district test coordinators or anyone kind of overseeing assessment scheduling to remind students on how to add this on. It's not an automatic add-on with bulk registration this year. Students have to add it on themselves after the bulk registration is processed. And then again, it's an individual student decision if they'd like to add it on. And it is completed online with a College Board account. We've sent a flyer with a few of our emails and updates that explains the steps on how students can do this. We do encourage schools to distribute this flyer to students. It's pretty manageable, step-by-step guide, and we can email the flyer to attendees here on the call today if it's helpful to distribute to your schools. The essay add-on window will be January 28th through February 4th. It's a little shorter, but again, we hope that the step-by-step guide that the College Board has created is really efficient in helping students achieve this. Here are just a few SAT school day key dates. So again, our bulk registration window is active now until January 16th. That's a pretty hard deadline. So we encourage you to grab that template and get all your juniors in there as soon as possible. The student essay opt-in window I just talked about is there. SSD, student with disability accommodation request for the SAT has been open for quite some time, but will close on February 19th. All of your schools will receive pre-administration test materials coming up in March, at the 1st of March there. And then the test coordinator required training, the College Board will email a link that will start February 26th. And we wanted to remind you, we did shorten most of our trainings this year are between 20 and 30 minutes long. They're recorded and they are located on our State Department College Entrance Exam website. You can see a visual here on how to access them, but it covers all topics from bulk reg to the optional essay and a variety of resources for you to access. And that is it for me. I'll turn it over to Danielle.
Before we move on to Danielle, we're going to stop here because we do have a question from, I'm going to say this, Janelle. I hope I've said that correctly. Kevin, this is actually a question for you. Will the parent and staff surveys be mandatory, and will schools receive the detailed results in a timely manner?
Schools are required to participate in the parent and staff survey, but we are going to leave it up to districts about how they want to distribute those out and ask the parents and staff to participate in them. And we will be providing real-time access to the results for those surveys as well, so that schools and districts can see those results.
I will also just piggyback on what Kevin said. While the parent staff survey participation is mandatory, we recognize that you will not get 100% participation from parents in your survey administration. So when results are posted on our website later this summer in August, after the conclusion of this survey administration, it will include a number of respondents and the results of the survey responses collectively. So it will not indicate a percentage of participation, but rather the number of responses that you received. We will also provide some resources in the form of a communication toolkit for districts to utilize to help promote the use of the surveys in their districts and schools. And we'll be providing that information at a later date as we get closer to that parent and teacher survey administration window. Right, we'll pause here for any questions for Melanie for SAT. I don't see anything coming in right now, but if you have questions, please go ahead and type them in the questions box and we can come back to them. Something strikes you later as we go through, please don't hesitate to let us know. We'll take a break again in a couple minutes for another question time. Other than that, we'll turn it over to Danielle right now to keep us moving.
All right, good morning, everyone. I just have a couple of brief reminders about the AccuPlacer. As we've mentioned in previous webinars, and other communications, starting this year, our vendor has requested to complete a mandatory certification in order to administer the AccuPlacer. So thank you to those proctors who have already certified. But as the testing window is creeping up, this is a friendly reminder to get those certifications completed. If your school or district needs a proctor, please contact me via email with pertinent account setup information, which is displayed on the screen. Once I receive the account information, I'll create the account, follow up with an email on account creation, trainings, and resources. With that, I'm going to pass it off to Paul.
Hello, this is Paul Kleinert, and I work with the National Assessment of Educational Progress. Last month, I had the pleasure of meeting all of the assessment coordinators who will be administering the NAEP. They are knowledgeable and a positive team who supports NAEP. Their job is to make sure that all students in Idaho across the nation receive the test in the same way. This maintains quality of results. Make sure that school staff work with and tell the field staff about accommodations that students need. This includes students with disabilities or English learners. Communicating with the field staff will ensure an accurate representation of learning in our great state. We start this process early, so we are ready for the NAEP assessment window, which is January 28th to March 8th. On September 6th, I provided customized parent notifications. If more customized notifications are needed, please email me and I will send them to you. Parent notifications can also be found on the MyNAEP website. Please send parent notifications out. High schools participating in the NAEP this year will also be participating in the high school transcript study. This study provides information about the types of courses that graduates take, how many credits they earn, their grade point averages, and the relationship between course taking patterns and graduates' achievements based on their performance on the National Assessment of Educational Progress in 12th grade. It is important that high schools send out the correct parent notifications that include information about the high school transcript study. The high school notifications are also located on the MyNAEP website.
Happy Wednesday to you all. I have some exciting, hot off the press, Idaho alternate assessment updates for you. But first, let me remind you that the IDAA Science Portfolio Testing window opened on Monday, January 7th, and will remain open until 11:59 p.m. on April the 7th. This is the time frame during which teachers will upload and score student artifacts in the individual portfolio artifact submission system, affectionately known as the IPASS application. As some of you may remember from last year, you must add teachers and students to the IPASS application, then assign students to teachers before your teachers can begin their work to upload artifacts. You will find the IPASS user manual in two places, on the IPASS welcome page, and you can see a picture of it here, and in the Idaho Training Clearinghouse resources. If you want to download the IPASS user manual from the ITC, simply enter IPASS in the search field and scroll down a bit. I have heard from some of you about issues adding teachers to IPath because the teacher cannot be mapped. If you get this error, then the SDE support desk can help you. You can see their phone number and email address listed on the slide. You don't need to include me in your communication with the SDE support desk unless you just want to. It's up to you. Now for the exciting news. Woohoo! There is a new resource on the ITC entitled IDAA Science Portfolio. It houses the newly updated IDAA Science Portfolio Manual 2019. As I said in previous webinars and assessment newsletters, there are not any changes to the IDAA Science Portfolio process this year. So there are not any substantive changes to this updated manual. You and your teachers will find 3 types of changes. I removed information that was left over from the time when ELA and math were also portfolio assessments and the directions from the old IPath application, both of which are no longer relevant. As I mentioned on the previous slide, the IPath application has its own user manual. I updated some language in an attempt to make the procedures for completing the IDAA Science Portfolio more clear and user-friendly. Finally, I explicitly stated the need for teachers to grade student work before uploading to IPath. I use the term grading to differentiate it from scoring because teachers score student artifacts on 3 levels in the IPath application. By grading, I mean marking correct and incorrect items or answers, indicating the percent or number of items correct at the top of the page, or other activities that are typically associated with grading student work. Although teachers don't necessarily need to put a letter grade at the top of the page. And this comment about grading student work needs to meet blah. This comment about grading student work leads nicely into the tutorial series I am developing. I am creating a series of short tutorials to accompany the IDAA Science Portfolio Manual to walk teachers through the process of implementing the IDAA Science Portfolio. The first video has been recording and is getting the closed captioning treatment even as we speak. The tutorials will be uploaded to the IDAA Science Portfolio resource on the ITC as they are finished. I anticipate having all of them completed and uploaded by January the 18th. Again, woohoo! My final update is related to the IDAA, ELA, and Math Administration later this spring. You already know about the addition of grade 10 to those students who will participate in IDAA, ELA, and Math this year. I'll mention this again in a moment. The items on the ELA and Math alternate assessments this spring are the same that have appeared in the last 3 years. These are the items included in the Directions for Test Administration, otherwise known as the DTAs. This year's ELA and Math alternate assessments will include a segment of 10 field test items. These are newly developed items that align with the Idaho Extended Content Standards in ELA and Math that were adopted last spring. We are field testing new items this spring because they may become part of future ELA and Math alternate assessments. Students are required to answer all of the items in the field test segment. However, their response to field test items will not affect their score on the alternate assessment. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, students will take the ELA and Math alternate assessments in grades 3 through 8, 10, and 11 this spring. However, the field test segment applies only to grades 3 through 8 and 10. Students for whom the early stopping rule is applied will not participate in the field test. Let me say that again. Students for whom the early stopping rule is applied will not participate in the field test. Finally, field test items will not be included in the Directions for Test Administration or DTAs. So test administrators and proctors will administer the field test items in the same way they administer original IDAA items as outlined in the DTA. Most importantly, they will maintain the one-on-one test administration. One difference test administrators and proctors will notice is that audio voice recordings are embedded in each field test item. Our testing vendor, AIR, will be sending out a flyer summarizing this information very soon. As always, don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions.
We don't have any questions right now, but please, again, if you have questions, type them in the questions box, and we'll keep taking a quick check of those. But for now, we'll turn things over to Melanie for an update on English language proficiency assessment.
Great. So I'm back now with another pretty active assessment. Related to training and certification, just another reminder, and certainly feel free to pass this along if you're not directly involved in the oversight of the access test. But certification is required for the 2019 testing year. Even if a test administrator is certified last year, to stay on the cycle, we do request they certify again. As you know, it can be helpful to go through this material more than once because of the nature of the assessment. So we hope that we're not inconveniencing anyone too much with that. The test window is in 3 weeks. It opens in 3 weeks, so definitely want to save and allow enough time for certification to be completed off the WIDA site. And as a reminder, test administrators, proctors only have to certify for the grades and the mode of testing that you are conducting. Here are a glimpse of the dates that are right around the corner for this assessment. So test materials arrive in district offices in bright yellow boxes on January 15th. So that's next week already. It is the best time to reassess your needs, your material needs and rosters to determine if any extra materials will be needed. DRC sends extra materials with your initial order, but if you're a district that has had a surge of identified English language learners, you may want to reassess and place your material orders, additional material orders as soon as you can. And that is open as well. Your additional material ordering window is January 15th through March 1st. We just put down this access training and certification deadline knowing different testing schedules exist, but ideally before the test gets going and launched, if you have proctors and test admins out in the field starting the process, giving them that deadline of January 28th may be very helpful. So communications around this assessment, we realize that WIDA is in their suite of assessments are managed differently in each district and school across Idaho. But as WIDA and English language growth are now a part of our state's accountability plan, our communications and instructions around assessment are really vital to land with the right contact. So we will need your ongoing assistance, especially in the district test coordinator population group, in sharing our updates and announcements for your schools. Many of you already do this, we realize, but you'll now see you are going to be copied on more messaging and updates pertaining to the WIDA screener and WIDA access test. We just ask that you forward this to appropriate staff if you're not involved or less involved, and let us know how we can continue to help support your districts and schools as you approach best practices and organization around the assessment of English language learners. We know that some people are in different places with this, depending upon the size of your school. Related, and hopefully it will be helping, but we will produce weekly tips during the open window. Again, it's just part of our increased communications, and we will include some WIDA recommended best practices during the window, and we will copy you as district test coordinators or anyone overseeing access. Again, feel free to forward along to your teachers, test admins, proctors. A lot of these we realize are like retired staff coming in to help with this assessment. Please pass along, because the more we can share, the better and more successful this test can go. You'll look out for the combined logo here, WIDA and the State Department, for these weekly announcements during the open test windows. And they're going to be a little bit separated out from our larger department newsletters, just to assist with topics specific to the test. And I think that's all I had on WIDA. I'll just pause for a couple questions if there's any. All right.
Melanie, you do have a question, and this comes from Kelly Glenn in CUNA, and she said, we are planning on holding Proctor TA training for online testing on January 29th, close to when they start testing. She just wants to verify she doesn't need to move that date up so long as she hasn't started testing prior to completing training.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's totally fine to do that. It's just before anyone administers the test, the certification and training must be completed. Thank you for checking.
That's the only question for WIDA, although there may be some things percolating out and around. So we'll let you continue to send your questions in for WIDA or any other assessment questions. But for now, we'll turn things over to Nancy Thomas-Price for an ISAT update.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much. We just have a few announcements this morning. Wanted to let you know that there are some extended artificial intelligence scoring options available for the interim assessment. Previously, only the full right items have been scored by artificial intelligence, but now short answer, brief right, and open response items will be scored. There are a few exceptions in math, so watch for some more information on that. Your best resource for scoring in Airways is on page 10 of the manual that I have listed there, Airways Quick Guide. This is a screenshot of what that looks like in Airways, indicating the pencil icon for scored items that can be reviewed and the alert symbols that show low confidence, indicating that those are items that you should definitely take a look at. Remember that all announcements, including some that you may have missed during the winter break, are on the landing page on the ISAT portal. I wanted to also let you know that I'm going to be leaving the State Department of Education. I want to thank all of you for the opportunity I've had to be in your schools, to support you. I have really enjoyed working with your teachers, your administrators over this time that I've been here, 10.5 years. Seems like a long time. So wanted you to know that my last day is going to be January 15th. If there's anything else I can do for you, please let me know. And I wish you continued success on using your data to improve teaching and learning of our standards. Thanks so much, everyone.
Okay, and with that sad announcement for all of us and all of you who are kind of taken aback, perhaps reeling in shock, we'll give you a few minutes to digest Nancy's farewell message and remind you that we do have another webinar coming up on Wednesday, February 13th. That is the day before Valentine's Day. So we want to make sure you will join us. We'll have a little Valentine's Day pre-celebration to share with you. And that will conclude just shortly right after our regional training. So we may have some updates that are taken from there. We have some final questions. Kathy Loris has asked who the new ISAT contact is. Kathy, unfortunately, we are not restaffed at this point in time. So questions that come in, you can send to me, and the rest of the team will start to tackle those as we need to. And please, everyone, know we know where Nancy lives. We have her number. If we get desperate, we will call her and and we will reach out. So you will not be without support. But for right now, questions can come to me until we are able to fill that position. And Gage Young has said, best of luck to you, Nancy. That's a bummer for the state. We all agree with you, Gage. Thank you for that. I don't believe we have any other questions that have come in, so we'll give you just a couple of minutes to make sure we haven't missed anything. All right. Looks like we are wrapped up here, and we really appreciate you joining us today. We wish you a very wonderful and happy new year, and we're hoping to see you out on the road in a few short weeks. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.